Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. My name is Daniel Caw. I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith,
good evening, Dan.
How's it
From
going?
the Mary Celeste. Good time. Magic, thanks for coming in.
We're also delighted to be joined all the way from Celtic Park by the one and only Michael Gannon. Mick, how are you? That's a good start to the show.
Never sure with Mick if you want to believe him or not. I've been watching him. I don't know the last few nights if you've seen him yet. His new series on Netflix, The Hawk.
No, I haven't seen that. No,
it's good.
Yeah, good. Nice. Excellent.
Enjoyed it.
I need to check that out. We're obviously having a few technical difficulties, but we'll be hearing from Mick. He was at Celtic. He's still at Celtic Park, but he was catching up with Casper Who today. Celtic's record new signing.
So you've changed it. You've changed again. You're going with Who, like I told you in the first place.
Mick and I just discussed it. It's Casper Who, Mick, isn't it?
Yeah, Casper Who. Sorry, guys. The new season, same old problems. I get kicked out there. Sorry. Yeah, I think his name actually doesn't really work, and we can't really anglicise it. So I think it's like Casper Who or something like that. But we can't really do it. So it's like we might as well stick with Casper Who. So he's quite happy with that. So yeah. I see it's a new season, guys, but the same old nonsense. I'm out in the pouring rain, and you two boys are sitting with the heating on and the feet up. I'm getting soaked out here. But,
well, let's make this quick, Mick, because I'm going out for dinner.
Let's start as I mean to go on with. It's the new season.
I'm just saying, Mick, though, I've taken great delight over the last couple of nights, been catching up with your new Netflix show, The Hawk.
Oh, here we go.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, mate. When did you manage to film that? Was that during the summer when we were at the World Cup?
Well, he's out your jollies in America. I was busy in my new show. I wish I could play golf like that right enough.
Well, you wear the same outfits.
Well, listen, it's not my inspiration. Might as well.
Oh, brilliant, man. Love it.
We'll come to Celtic in a wee minute, but Keith, there's been some breaking news this evening regarding SFA and this horrible plan from FIFA.
Oh, I mean, just when you think that Infantino has got as bad as he could possibly get, as if the stench of corruption around FIFA can't possibly get any more overpowering, then Infantino decides to sell the World Cup, and he sells it to a company that Donald Trump's son-in-law is attached to. It is mind-blowing in its arrogance. And as soon as you heard it, you knew that Trump's fingerprints would be on it somewhere. And it's basically left I think it's even though people had a fair idea what Infantino was all about, I think this one has caused shockwaves. The news from our perspective, from a Scottish view, is that the SFA will be involved in an emergency summit tomorrow. It's getting scrambled as we speak. It'll involve 55 European countries. UEFA has already come out and made its position very clear. Seferin, the president of UEFA, has made it clear that UEFA will seek to oppose this. I think the meeting tomorrow is to find a consensus on the best way to torpedo it. And that may well include the threat to boycott future FIFA events. It is scandalous. It's beyond scandalous. And I'm so glad that there has been an outpouring, even though the SFA haven't said anything. Ian Maxwell will attend it tomorrow. I think part of the complication politically for the SFA is that our president, Mike Mulroney, currently holds a seat as the chairman of FIFA's financial committee. So that's a bit awkward. But I like to think there will be a coordinated strategy, which will come from the collective strength of all 55 European, or maybe not all 55, because the Czech Republic have already come out and thrown their weight behind it. Oh, wow. Every national association has been given a 53-day kind of deadline to get with this. In which case, if you vote with Infantino and you allow this commercial deal to go through, I think it's worth £15 billion. If you back it, then your association will benefit to the tune of $40 million US.
Yeah.
If you don't back it, you'll lose 30 million of that. I mean, it is beyond jaw dropping. And the bad news is that there will be a collective European trend here, but there's 211 competing nations under FIFA's banner, and I think they only need 106 of them, just over 50%, to vote it through, and it will happen. And we've seen the way that FIFA operates. We've seen the way that people can get bought off from the centre in terms of FIFA. I can only hope that UEFA takes such a strong stance, or the European nations take such a strong stance, that if it came down to it, the idea of those countries boycotting the World Cup would mean that the World Cup's not worth anything near what Infantino's trying to sell it for. But it is horrendous. It's horrendous, and it kind of points to a guy that now seems to have some sort of Jesus syndrome. The worst thing that could have happened was him spending time with Trump over these last 18 months, because I'm not sure which one's worse now.
Well, you can see in the comments there, Nick, that John says even Sepp Blatter's blushing at this. I remember when he was the yardstick for...
Listen, see, the thing is, he was a repulsive character, Sepp Blatter, and you thought, oh my God, thank God we've got rid of him. And then Infantino's just come in and just went like, hold my beer, and he's up to stakes. It's astonishing. It really is. And these people need to remember, what they need to remember is this isn't their game. They don't own football. The fans own football. The players, the clubs, everybody that watches it. Football belongs not to FIFA, but to everybody. And for them to think that they can do this, I think it's just the final insult. I think it's disgraceful, disgusting, whatever adjective you want to use.
Oh, that's the thing. We thought the sleaze and the gubbiness was gone with Uncle Sepp Blatter. But like you know, hold my beers, hold my bung. It's actually. I mean, we thought this the World Cup. You boys were out there, obviously, and the exploitation and financial kind of grubbiness was all there at sea. I mean, the cash grab and that competition, we saw it with the hydration breaks and half-time shows and all these things to make more money. By the way, a competition and an event that makes more money than sense anyway.
Yeah,
incredible.
But did is good. They always want more. They always want more. And this is another attempt to monetize the kind of global game. And it's going to cause a problem because, as you touched on, the associations look after themselves and they get promised. That's what happened in a Blatter. I mean, the smaller associations getting weighed in to get votes for certain things. And we're back to that again.
And by the way, not only that, but we're going to increase it to 64 nations.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah.
So that's just a way of buying more votes.
Of course.
It's sickening.
But we're kind of in a situation, though. Listen, we're now in a situation where we're kind of having to back a horse and we're saying, right, we're Team UEFA. Listen, UEFA got their own problems, and the clubs are trying to break away from UEFA because they're into it as well. It's just listen, the global game. It's there's so much money swirling around the game, and they're all trying to have mitts on it in some capacity. So how it ends up in a civil war between UEFA and FIFA. But then UEFA can make a power grab to take over FIFA, and then what happens then? There's every chance they go down the same route. We just don't know. It's like meanwhile, as it tumbles down the chain, and the knock-on effect is felt at the ground level by supporters. So who knows how it ends up? But it's not going to be pretty, that's for sure.
Well,
I know we've got to speak to Mick about stuff, but and this point has been raised previously, and do you know something? I can't defend it because I'm all for saying I don't believe in corruption in Scottish football. I've said that when people say, "Oh, this ref's bent," or "This is dodgy," or I just don't believe it. I think we've got a clean sport in this country, but it's really difficult to continue to stick rigidly with that line because I believe it to be true, and I want it to be true, and I hope it's true, and I trust it's true. But how can you say that when you look at what's going on there? At the highest echelons of the game.
No.
This is so damaging for football and the reputation of football in every country. I think these people should be ashamed of themselves, but they won't be.
I think you're right. Brass necks doesn't do it justice. Mick, back onto the football. You've been speaking to Casper Who today?
Yes. Big Casper unveiled. Casper Who, we'll stick with that, I think. Unveiled today at Parkhead. Really quite impressed with him, actually. I mean, clearly absolutely delighted to be at Celtic. I mean, a big, massive grin in his face. He seemed really excited by the prospect of playing here. I was impressed with him. He spoke really well. Sounds really determined. He's an interesting big character. I mean, he comes with a big CV. It's a kind of signing that I think Celtic fans have been completely kind of bowled over by. I mean, it's probably one of the first times in a long time that a player that they've heard of, they've seen on the TV, they know, they wanted, has turned up. So it's caught a lot of fans on the back foot because they're also at a war footing right now with the club board. And this guy's turned up and they're thinking, well, that's actually quite good. This is actually a really impressive signing. It's a big statement. It's a record signing. It's a lot of money. This guy's got a proven track record and he sounds mad keen. So it's like he's kind of caught people off guard a wee bit. Yeah, an interesting story. I mean, it's stuff with our guys, the dailies, he expanded on. He's had an interesting journey through football. He's been a kind of a 2 or 3 year overnight sensation. Had a reputation of a bit of a party animal at 21, like we all did, Keith. Not so much.
If only I could remember, Nick.
Well, I was thinking more at 41, but I mean, there's a great quote from back in the day from his old gaffer now, Knutson at Bodo. When he arrived there, he had a reputation of being a bit of a party animal. If you go to a party animal, the place to go to calm down is definitely going to Bodo. Having been there, having been to Bodo and trying to find a party, you'll be lucky. So
not even you could go full Frank the Tank there, Mike.
Even some of us famous Frank the Tankers couldn't find anywhere in Bodo. But so he kind of found his peace, and it's listening to talk to us about that journey. You know, it's really interesting. He's kind of rediscovered his religion and all that stuff, and but he's kind of hungry to be a success here at Celtic. He looks the part, sounds the part. I think it's quite an exciting signing for Celtic, to be honest with you.
Well, I
think it's great, Mick, and I think, you know, as you kind of touched on there, the fact is that the Celtic supporters, we in the media, everybody has panned, and quite correctly and rightly so, everybody's panned this Celtic board for showing a lack of ambition, for refusing to spend the sort of money that's required to advance the team, to improve in certain areas. They deserve nothing but credit for getting this deal done, because I think they've paid a wee bit more than they originally would have anticipated to get this deal done. I think it's hats off to them. I'm not saying they're out the woods yet, because there's so much still to do in this transfer window. I'm really impressed with this signing as a starter for 10.
Yeah, listen, you look at what Celtic really lacked last season, and it was goals in the forward areas. I mean, the goals that left the team in the previous 12 months, 18 months, Kyogo leaving, Ida leaving, Nicholas Kuhn going. I mean, you take the guts of kind of 50, 60 goals at that team last season, and that's what Brendan Rodgers was saying back in the Honda Civic times. He said they've lost all these goals and not replaced them. And now you look at these guys that have come in. You get who has scored nearly a goal every 2 games for Bodo, and scored in the Champions League, 5 goals in the Champions League, 7 the previous year in the Europa League. You get the boy Camilo Duran, who scored 5 goals in the Champions League last year for Karabakh. A good goal record. Now Celtic have added goals, and you think there's no way these guys are not going to score goals. It's more about how you fit in the team.
Yeah.
Well, it has to just be the start for Celtic. These are the kind of signings that Celtic should be making. This is a club that got a lot of money in the bank. I mean, a lot of people bought season tickets. There's plenty of cash. These are the quality kind of signings that Celtic should be making. So I'm not just saying it's not doing the old Roy Keane. It's their job, but it kind of is. These are the kind of signings that Celtic fans have demanded. And I've got a couple through the door, but they need more, because they're still light in a lot of areas. And I think fans are probably more optimistic now than they were 10 days ago. However, there's still gaps to be filled, and this is before 3 or 4 big names could go out the door. There's ones we know about that will be leaving, your Hatatis, probably Engels. But there's other ones, I mean, like Alistair Johnson, your Negans, who could also go. And then all of a sudden, Celtic are 4 first-team players light and have to be replaced. So this isn't the end of the Celtic transfer window. This is just the start of it, and they need to keep that momentum going.
Well, look, the Celtic fans are definitely more optimistic, and they're a lot excited in the comments. Marty says we're so excited to have him, although he does quite rightly say all is nearly forgiven, Michael Nicholson. John says the Champions League striker is great news for Celtic. Rebel says Casper is very enthusiastic and ecstatic. Celtic nice to see. And Alan points out get through the Champions League knockout and who pays for himself, which is a good point.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you look at it now. I mean, they took £8 million up front for Dyson Maida, could rise to 10. So that money is just going shifted right across for Casper Who. So they haven't had to dent too much into the kitty, really. And they've already made in a couple £1 million from the sales of kind of fringe guys, Palmers and these kind of guys. You do think Celtic are going to make money. Engels will command £20 million plus. They make a couple $1 million for Hatate. So there's money coming in for Celtic. So they don't need to worry about what the expense is going to be. The money's there and there's more money coming in. And if they can get the Champions League, there's another £40 million coming their way. But people don't want to hear about money anymore. Celtic got that money in the bank. That money in the bank has actually been a noose for Celtic for 18 months. I mean, they ramped their money up in the sales of your O'Reillys and Coons and all that stuff. And last summer, the accounts came out and they said they've got £77 million in the bank. That was burning a hole in the pockets. And that hung over Celtic all last season because you're thinking, why have they got that money in the bank and this is what's on the park? And people couldn't understand the correlation between that money and what they were watching. And that's still going to be the case. That money's still sitting there. They've not built anything. They haven't done anything with it. I mean, Celtic Park still needs some work done to it as well. So they're going to have to keep the wheels turning and keep getting players in. And Celtic are light. I mean, the middle of the park, you think Hatate goes, Bernardo goes. It doesn't leave off a lot of midfield players in there. You still look at the left back.
And Engels, Nick.
Well, I think I'm assuming Engels goes, yes, certainly. You look at the wide areas, they still don't have an awful lot. I mean, they've got these two new strikers that should get goals, but they'll only get goals if they get service. So unless they're getting balls into the box and reliable balls into the box, they're going to be struggling anyway. So they need to get a couple of wide men in as well, a couple of midfield players, left back and a goal at each other. There's this 5 right away, and that's not even selling a Negrin or a Johnson. So there's still a lot of work needing done.
I think there's a lot of work needing done this week because we know about the 2 other targets that have been in advanced talks. The German midfielder Bauer and Nassim going
Hassan.
Hassan?
Yeah, Hassan. Real Oviedo. And if Celtic don't get these ones in the door before the new season kicks off against Dundee at Celtic Park next Monday night, I think there's a danger that they lose the momentum that they've built from the signing of Casper Who, because I think the Celtic fans quite rightly expect these two, well, they're almost done, so they should be in. So, and then at that point, Celtic board, I don't know, that could be another £11 million on top of the transfer fee for Who. So at that point, you're really going, well, this is exciting. But, and Mick touches on it there, Celtic then start a fire sale of the midfield department. And if it gets to the point that by the end of this transfer window, they've brought in more money than they've sent out the way, they'll stand accused of the same old thing. So it's so important that they can't let the grass grow around their feet here. They need to not let complacency slip in, and they need to hammer this because, as Mick said, I'd think probably conservative estimate 5 to 7 players still required in this window.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. I think in terms of Bauer, interestingly, he's part of the Paderborn squad to play Southampton tonight, I think. Yep. And he's pulled out with a cold. Yeah. It's amazing how you get a cold when somebody's stiffing about you.
In the middle of summer, in the middle of a European heat wave.
Well, listen, give it another 10 minutes, me out here. I could be getting a cold, don't worry about that. But yeah, so that's, I mean, no, listen, we send our thoughts to the poor boys under the weather. No doubt back to his bed with a lens sip. Keep turning his phone off and lying in the blankets. But so I think that's not going to be. I think they're playing hardball, which is they're entitled to play hardball. Listen, still they've done it enough with their players. But I still think that could be a goer. The second one, yeah, again, likewise, Oviedo are not proven to be that receptive at the moment. That might change. I mean, obviously, it's a player that Celtic are interested in. So that could still be a live one. But Celtic do need these guys. They could do with another one for. I don't know if it's going to happen for Monday right enough. I'm not entirely sure. But having got the striker, then I think that might just dial down the kind of the heat around the club a little bit in the short term. But like you say, if it rumbles on another 2 weeks without any more new faces and a couple leave, it's just coming back to the same kind of tension again.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that, Mick, before I let you go. One of the comments, another Michael says, do you expect any more signings before Monday? Maybe not to play, but at least in the door. Hard to say.
I'm not sure. I think Bauer potentially could be. I don't think that any of these guys will be ready to play on Monday if they do get in the door. But maybe that's one that might be able to nudge over the line before then. But I think we'll find out maybe more tonight. We'll find out some more tonight from the German end. What's happened with that one? But yeah, I think Monday might be too soon. But listen, once I think the dominoes start falling, these things can get done fairly quickly. Not that Celtic do anything really particularly quickly. But the Casper Who one was done quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was telling that the pressure was really, I mean, if you think back to, a week's a long time in football, but last Friday, Celtic fans were pretty angry, and that's an understatement of the year. And I thought it was starting to boil over. Dyson made a goes to Ipswich, obviously. If they hadn't done that, hit the button on that move, I think there would have been some pretty angry fans at that point. Who coming in has cut that at the pass, changed the mood around the club pretty quickly as well. But I think not saying the hand was forced, but they kind of had to get that done. They really had to. They had to pony up and get that done. There's a lot of money, probably more than they would like to have spent. And there was talk originally was 7-8 million quid. I think 11 million quid is probably market value, at least for him. A guy that scored that many goals in Europe.
Yeah.
So they've done good. I think it's good business. But yeah, I think that it definitely helped ease a bit of the frustration. But they need to get more in. Otherwise, it's going to come back quite quickly.
Aye, absolutely. Mick, we'll let you go up the road because don't want you catching that cold. But thanks so much for joining us on Hotline Live.
Yeah, listen, I thought the summer would get a bit of a summer, but unfortunately, it's winter coat time already in Scotland, isn't it? So it's the start of a long season. The long johns will be getting broken out shortly.
Before you know it. Mick, I'm sure I'll be pestering you to come back on soon, but thanks for tonight.
Hawk from now on. Hawk Gannon.
Hawk. Listen, unfortunately, it's more like a bald eagle these days. That's the problem.
Brilliant, Mick. Thanks for joining us.
See you later, guys.
Cheers, Mick.
See you, Mick.
Mick on brilliant form as always, Keith.
Yeah, some man. So I said to you, if you haven't seen this yet, thoroughly recommend it. Mick Gannon's new series on Netflix.
I haven't seen it. What is it called? Hawk?
I think it's The Hawk.
All right, so it's okay. I'm doing it now. So it's your man Will Ferrell.
I thought it was Mick.
So there you go. You can check that out. Check out.
You know what we should ask them there, and I think it's probably a question you want to ask anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What does all this mean? Where does this leave the captain, Callum McGregor?
That's a good point, actually.
That's a question I wanted to ask Mick there because he will have a good feel for it as well. But having ended last season by saying he wanted Celtic's board to show that they were prepared to match his ambition before putting pen to paper on a new contract, I noticed that he did do a little bit of a TV interview today, but I think with Sky. I didn't think he was as emphatic as has been made out in some quarters.
I agree.
You know, that's him killed at stone dead. I think he was clever enough not to kill it stone dead and still leave that sort of a threat out there. I think Callum McGregor remains a guy that's on watch just now, just taking a look about him and seeing, you know, what is the scale of the ambition here? How much stronger, stroke or weaker is this squad going to be before the season, or certainly by the end of the transfer window, bearing in mind that the transfer window in Saudi Arabia stays open for a good couple of weeks after that as well, doesn't it? So
yeah.
That's another interesting one. I think Celtic should be heartened by the fact that Callum McGregor broke cover a little bit today and did that interview. But I wasn't just as convinced by his answers as some people have been. So
right.
I think that remains a live issue. That's just a player Celtic can't afford to lose.
Simply non-negotiable. Let me read out a few of the quotes. This is today's interview with Sky. Says, so as long as the club want you there, as long as the club's ambition matches my own in terms of playing at the highest level, we have to continue to push and be as good as possibly can be. I don't want to sit here and be a Celtic captain who's not winning anything. I've been honest with everyone in that conversation. The people inside the club know it. So, I mean, that would jump out to me, Keith. I kind of agree with you. He's not coming out and saying, I'm going nowhere. He's saying this club needs to be the best version of itself if I'm going to stay.
He was a little bit vague. He was also kind of pushed on it. I think the question was put to him, so you are staying then for the season? He's just he said, yeah, well, I'm staying just now. Just a little bit vague. He just left the door open. I think he's a really intelligent guy, Callum McGregor, and he speaks really well, and he doesn't get himself boxed in. And I thought he just manoeuvred his way around those questions pretty cleverly today. But I think he throws the ball back into the court of the Celtic board. This isn't enough. You need to do more. And good on him. There's a guy that really cares about his football club, and he's prepared to step up and challenge. Because we saw what happened to the last manager that was prepared to do that. He ended up taking blazing the trail over to the Middle East. Look, I don't know, but I do know that the Celtic board can't take their foot off the gas now and think that they're out of the woods, because they've got so much more work to do. They've made a really good start. They need to kind of take the momentum from that and move on and speed it up and go through the gears, because believe it or not, before you know it, this transfer window is going to be over. And what they can't be seen to be doing is leaving it to a late 11th hour scattergun kind of raid on the market to see what odds and ends are left. They need to show the fans that they've put a bit of thought and strategy into what they're trying to achieve in this window.
Absolutely. Across the city, Keith, Derek McInnes was talking today. He was talking about transfers and Lawrence Shankland, amongst other things. Let's have a listen to the Rangers manager and hear what he was saying today.
Obviously, a huge honour for myself to be named captain of this football club. It's a lifelong supporter, and it was a dream to be in the first place, but to get the opportunity to captain the club is, as I said, a huge honour.
How prepared do you feel for the scrutiny and everything that comes with this armband, and how beneficial has the Hearts experience been?
As I said, in the last 2.5 years, all I've known really has been a captain at a football club, and it's something I enjoyed. I enjoyed the responsibility. Of course, you touch on the scrutiny that comes with that. Of course, at times when things get difficult, people do look to the captain to kind of answer up for the squad, and that's something that I'll need to be responsible for. But listen, on the flip side of that, the rewards of being successful at this football club, and being a successful captain, for me, outweigh it by miles. So it's something I'm really looking forward to.
Obviously, James Darby has served the club for a long period and served it well, so there's always this discussion, and it's been something I've been asked about quite a lot since I've been in the job. And I just really wanted to look through the squad really and how everybody was, but the benefit Lawrence had, or advantage Lawrence had, was the fact that I've got evidence of how well he's runs a dressing room, his experience of being a captain at Hearts for a few years now, and there was obviously a lot to consider, but I think a lot of things went in his favour as well. I think he's got the experience. I think we're still quite a young dressing room. He knows the club, and obviously he's not long in before me, but he knows the club in terms of being a Glasgow boy and supported the club. He knows what's expected of him and me and the team this season. So, and obviously I've got a strong relationship, which always helps with these things. I do feel that the role now has changed in the sense that I do think we need as many kind of captains underneath him as well. And in a sense, you've seen a lot of managers speak about that recently, and I think that someone to help share the burden. Normally, I used to see it with James Darby here a lot as well at Rangers, where he would get rolled out after every sore defeat, and ones that had a lot of impact. And I just thought that it was always a bit unfair. It was the same guy getting rolled out all the time, and I do think we have to share that load, share the responsibility, both when things are going well and when things aren't going so well. So leaning on a lot of his teammates, key players within that, there's a kind of a leadership team in there within the dressing room that will help him with that. But ideally, you want everybody to be able to deal with the responsibility you just mentioned.
Derek McInnes there and Lawrence Shankland. I think we were going to hear him talk about transfers as well. Let me come to that in a wee minute. But what do you make of Lawrence Shankland being mentioned or being named?
I think it's an obvious choice. It's a really obvious choice for a number of reasons. I think that what Rangers are hoping to do, what Derek McInnes particularly is striving to do, is to return Rangers to something that resembles something far more like the Rangers that he was part of. And that did include a Scottish core. It included people that knew what the football club was all about. I think Rangers have lost a lot of that identity. I think if they look across the city, you look at the guy we've just been talking about, Callum McGregor, an inspiration, a guy that cares so passionately, so deeply about the football club. And there's Callum McGregors all over Lennoxtown. All right, they're not all called Callum McGregor, but I'm talking about people who live and breathe Celtic. And I think it's really important for Rangers and Celtic that they have guys like that. And I think it's a really shrewd move. I think they've now got a manager who understands what it's all about. He's got a captain who understands what it's all about. These guys understand what the guys in the stands are feeling and the emotions that they're going through in a way that it's just maybe not so possible for newcomers to come into the scene and really get it. And I think it's overwhelmed a few, to be perfectly honest. I think when a guy like Alistair Johnson goes into the Celtic dressing room, he's got a James Forrest and a Callum McGregor, and within minutes they've sold the whole idea to him, and he totally gets it. And Alistair Johnson's one of these guys now. He could pass it on to the next sort of raft of signs because he's totally involved emotionally in it as well. I think Rangers have gone too far away from that. They've filled the place with guys that have really no real feel for what the football club has always been about. Sorry, and I think to have Derek McInnes, and he's also got the benefit. He knows Lon Shanklin inside out. They were together at Aberdeen. They were together at Hearts last season. Shanklin was the captain there. It just it ticks every conceivable box. But I do think Derek McInnes is entirely right as well when he says you need more than just one man who's prepared to front this up. Yes, Lon Shanklin will wear the armband and he'll lead from the front. But I think it's really important, and I think this has been an important part of the recruitment drive so far this summer, is Derek McInnes said it himself, you need leaders. That this team hasn't, it's really, apart from James Tavernier, who was almost like a reluctant leader, he got given the armband in difficult circumstances, if you recall, a time when Lee Wallace, Kenny Miller were in dispute with the club. He kind of got bounced into putting the armband on. He was never, to me, a natural leader of men, a natural captain. And I think that Rangers are making a lot of good moves in that regard. I think Lon Shanklin will front it up superbly. I think he understands his responsibilities. But I think he's now got a group of players around about him who could share some of the weight and be willing to do that. Look, Rangers have still got loads to do in this transfer window as well, don't get me wrong. But they're laying decent foundations here. They're giving themselves a real chance. And I'm not sure that I would have said that. Well, I know I didn't say it about Rangers this time last year when Russell Martin was going in, because you could see them drifting further and further away from, what was really required to make them competitive. I think I used the phrase over and over, and for a number of months last season, it was always, for me, going to get worse before it get better. I think you're now seeing signs that Rangers know which direction they're supposed to be moving in. And I think Rangers supporters should take a lot of comfort from that.
Mark in the comments says, Keith, is it not a kick in the teeth to Rangers players who've been there for a while? And I kind of, when I read that, I thought he makes a good point. He's not even played the game yet. Shanklin getting the captaincy, he means.
No, but who's meant to be?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I thought it was a good point, but then as I go through the list, maybe Raskin, but again, he appears to maybe be on his way. Is there anyone else that jumps out? I don't think so, really.
No, John Souttar, maybe, but again, they're looking at finding an exit strategy for John Souttar. No, this is a fresh kind of canvas, a blank canvas for Rangers, and not before time. They absolutely require it. I think in many ways they were bogged down by all the mistakes that have been made and all the sort of scar tissue that had been allowed to develop over the years. James Tavernier was a poster boy for it. I think it was really important that this summer Rangers made a big change in terms of it is a new manager, it's a new captain, it's another rebuild, and God knows that they've been through a few of them over the years. But there's something about this one that suggests to me that Rangers finally understand what it is that they're trying to look for. And I said it last year, Daniel, there was guys in charge of recruitment, there was guys, the head coach at the time, and Russell Martin, even when Danny Roll came in, they looked to me as if they were all grasping around, trying to find a sense of direction. What way are you supposed to move this football club? The guys that are in there now understand it. It's one thing understanding it, and it's a different thing putting it into practice. But they've given themselves, I think, the best chance.
Yeah, let's listen to the Rangers manager just very quickly again on transfers. Here's what he had to say.
We'll probably be able to announce one either today or tomorrow, and we're still actively trying to do one more, which is quite an important one for us in terms of position-wise. So we haven't given up hope that both lads could be involved for us for going to Dundee on Friday.
Is Alexi McCann a player that you're interested in, could be coming in the door soon?
Yeah, that's one that is close. Let's say we're pretty close to maybe announcing that. So it'd probably be safe to say that one looks pretty good for us. And there's another one we're still trying to kind of get over the line.
What do you feel Alexi will add to this team, obviously in a key position?
Well, I think he's another one of a similar profile in terms of the age. He's got a lot of athleticism. He has good potential. And while he's coming from the MLS and then he's coming to a different country and a different type of football, we feel he's got the attributes that can cope with that. I think when you look at us defensively, we're short on numbers, so it's good that we've managed to act quickly to get one in. And we probably still need to look to bring in another couple of defenders before the window closes, but we're a bit light in terms of numbers, and I think getting that kind of resolved this week and hopefully can announce that tonight or tomorrow, then we're delighted.
You mentioned the last Derek, in terms of the position, is that more forward thinking in terms of your mind, in terms of what you need at the top end of the pitch?
Yeah, I think really strong in certain areas, and there's some key areas that we need to be bring one or two in.
Can I just ask about outgoings as well? Oliver Antman, there's a lot of chat around him. Can you bring us up to speed with his situation if you could?
Yeah, I believe a deal's been agreed, and Ollie has travelled to maybe finalise that, but other than that was this morning, so I don't know, or last night, and I don't know where it's at beyond that, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure that will work out.
What about Nico Raskin? Is there any bids coming for him?
Not that I'm aware of. Nico's due to arrive late tomorrow. But again, these conversations are between the club and the agent, and whether that's something that comes in, I'm pretty sure we will look at that if it comes in, but nothing as yet.
Okay. Can I just ask, sorry if that's you've done David, John Suter, is he close to leaving Derek?
I don't know, to be honest. I spoke with Dan, the recruitment team, this morning, and it wasn't mentioned, so I don't know where that's at. John's just been working away brilliantly just to try and keep himself right, but I think he might have one or two options, but I don't know, to be honest.
Is he not one you personally see fitting into your plans here?
Listen, he's in the squad, he's in training with us, and he's in the building, but it's just maybe a situation where John might well look to go elsewhere to get regular football. That's we've had a conversation about that, and I think he's looking at options to explore, but it's got to be somewhere that he wants to go to.
Keith, I'm surprised that John Suter's not really getting a look under Derek McInnes. I thought he'd be one of the starters in them.
I'm a little bit surprised myself, but again, maybe as we were referring to just a couple of moments ago, Daniel, I think that Derek McInnes has realised there is a need to kind of wipe things out and start again. The leadership structure that was in place under previous managers pretty much been obliterated. It will be when John Suter leaves, that's for sure. He was one of the major voices. John Suter at the top of his game, I think, is an asset. I felt that he really struggled, particularly in the second half of last season, to get anywhere near his form. I thought his confidence looked drained, and he certainly fell out the starting 11, didn't he?
Yep.
So in some ways I'm surprised, because they talk about the Scottish core, and there is an importance in having homegrown players as well in terms of UEFA competition. I think a decision's been made here clearly by the manager that I think I can improve the centre of my defence, and that means that you would be unlikely to get a lot of starting time. And John Souttar's got to then weigh up his options, hasn't he? So there's interest in him from down south, Championship level. I think that's where you would expect to see John Souttar. I think the one that I think is probably interesting, there was a bit of noise around Sheffield United, but I see Leicester City are showing an interest. I think his brother was there for a while, wasn't he? So, yeah, look, I think the short answer is, Dan, I think it's pretty clear that whether or not it comes as a surprise to anyone, clearly John Souttar knows that his time at Rangers is probably coming to an end, and that's probably on the back of conversations that he's had with Derek McInnes.
Yeah, so it's all the way through McCann is the man that's probably going to come into defence for Rangers.
He's the one. That one should be done, or will be done within the next 24 hours.
But what about the outgoing, Keith? I mean, Ant-Man, who admittedly I thought he looked really good in his Rangers debut, but after that contributed next to nothing. For them to get him out the door for a reputed €4.5 million, a profit, it's pretty good business.
It's really good business because, again, I don't think he was going to get much of a look in. Look, he might be one of these guys who goes elsewhere and then becomes a star.
No.
But I think the weight of the Rangers shirt looked a bit heavy for him. He did. He hit the ground running in his debut in European football. I thought he looked terrific that night. Really exciting prospect. But there was nothing to see from him following that, which suggested he was going to be a regular contributor. And I think if Rangers can cut their losses, the good news is that he had a good, strong reputation in Holland. I know Anderlecht's Belgium, but it's the same neck of the woods. And, you know, if you've got a reputation there, a lot of clubs are prepared to say, well, do you know what? It didn't work out for whatever reason over there. He might be more suited to the kind of football that we play over here. Yeah. And I think his reputation from what his kind of CV previous to coming to Rangers has probably encouraged Anderlecht to go and make that move. Bear in mind that Anderlecht had a £5 million bid knocked out of court by Brighton for a player that the Rangers now see potentially as a guy that will get game time on the right hand side. So that's the way this transfer market's going to work. You get a bunch of clubs that are all sort of in and around the same market, looking at similar price players. Rangers, I think, will be pretty pleased if they can get Ant-Man out the door and then use that money, whether it is to bring in the boy from Brighton, Cozy Dewberry,
yeah.
or whether indeed it is to say, look, do you know what? If we can use this money now, can we cobble something together, financial package that would get Vaclav Černý out of Besiktas? I think these are all the sort of kind of parts of the jigsaw that Rangers will have to work on between now and the end of August. You heard from Derek McInnes. I think they've probably got a right winger in mind or a wide player in mind that they think is really close to getting over the line. It won't be Cozy or Dewberry. It's not Vaclav Černý. So there's somebody else, but that's good as well because they really need competition for places in these wider areas. They are lacking a creative spark, and that'll be a major concern for Derek McInnes with only a few weeks left of this window to go.
The very last thing, Keith, before I let you go, Rebel writes in saying Hearts looked terrible again last night. 3 wheels on their wagon. Did you see the game? I mean, I sat and watched a bit of it myself, and they did not look great.
I don't know how you managed to do that, Daniel, because I was looking forward to doing that, and then only to find out that it wasn't on Premier Sports as had been previously advertised.
Hearts pay-per-view.
Yeah, all right, okay. Is that what we're calling the dodgy stick these days?
No comment.
But I did listen to a bit the radio commentary, and I always enjoy a good radio commentary. And it was very downbeat stuff. I think Hearts went into it the first 10 minutes. Stadium's up, the fans are up, the prospect of some sort of fairy tale night. I think it became very evident very early on that wasn't likely to happen. Hearts continue to have defensive problems. It's a major concern. And in the final third, they're still creating chances, I think, and they're playing with a bit of ambition. They're not taking them. Well, they've lost their best goal scorers. One reason for that. And do you know something? I think it might be underestimated, the role that Lawrence Shankland played in helping to settle Claudio Braga into life at Tynecastle. I think the two of them enjoyed playing off each other. When Shankland went out injured in January, Braga took it upon himself. It's a big ask for him to go again and do that again and carry the weight of the team again.
Yeah.
I think Hearts have got problems. I said it before kick-off last night. I said that I thought I'd fancy Sturm Graz by a couple of goals. I actually went 3-1. It was 2-0, but it was as easy as I thought it would be for them, as straightforward as I thought it would be. And now Hearts have got a big problem in terms of trying to rekindle some momentum and get the fire back in the bellies of a support who ended last season, on the floor. And they were just desperately hoping for something, some early indication that the new man that comes in and the new Jamestown signings could get up and running and give them something similar again. That's looking a long way off right now for Hearts, and that's a real shame. I hope that it's teething troubles and that these things can be sorted quickly and adjusted quickly, and that by the end of August you're looking at a far more robust and a Hearts side that's capable of putting in a challenge again. Right now, I really doubt it. I really doubt it.
John in the comments says we'll see how good Jamestown analytics is now.
Well, we've been saying that for a couple of nights, haven't we? I think that the tendency was probably for Tony Bloom and his Jamestown devotees is that that Derek McInnes isn't fully in. He's half in to Jamestown, but he wants to control other aspects. He wants to name his own signing targets. He's willing to trust in the data and the algorithms to a certain extent, but he's also a manager first and foremost. And I think it was a good combination, which worked well for Hearts last season. Now, clearly, the temptation is that Derek McInnes isn't there. He's not an obstacle anymore. So we go full Jamestown. That worries me a little bit, because I think there could be an over-reliance. As much as I've, there's plenty of evidence to show you how well it works as a scouting system and what's happened at Brighton and in Union Saint-Gilloise. You can see that there's real good stuff in there. What worries me is if the computer is completely taken over and we've got AI in charge of Hearts this season, because I think you need boots on the ground. You need proper football, people making proper football decisions. Yes, that can be enhanced by Jamestown and the computer programming, but I don't think it's ready to be replaced. And Hearts may struggle. Would be the early indication.
Luke in the comments says Hearts' next opponents will walk the floor on them. They're going to Pittodrie on the opening day of the Premiership season.
It's a hard game. It's a hard opening fixture.
A hard one. But we'll talk about that more perhaps tomorrow, Keith. But for tonight, that brings us to the end of Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. Thank you so much to Michael Gannon, who was at Celtic Park, to Record Sports Andy Newport as well, who helped us record the Rangers stuff too. Much appreciated. And to yourself, Keith.
Well, thank you. I hope you do realise that I've given up my birthday night to do this tonight. So don't worry about it. No, listen, don't even mention it.
They're bringing the cake in any minute.
No, they're not. I'm away out for my dinner though. So have a lovely night, all. We'll see you
lovely night. Many happy returns. You only turned 71, so definitely enjoy it.
I know, I'm looking not bad for 71.
Thanks very much for all the comments and thanks for watching at home. And as I say, we'll be back at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Hope you can join us then. Cheers.